Hi, everybody. Welcome to the monthly TSC Explore OnBase webinar. And today we are going to be talking about the OnBase integration for Workday. And we have a lot to show you in that regard because we got some integrations working on parallel tracks. Today we have Tess Venhoff with Highland Software. She's a technology evangelist for this integration, and she's going to be taking the lead on it. We also have Jack Pompey from TSC who will be fielding questions. So please put questions you might have in the question box, and we're going to try and integrate those throughout as we go. And then we also have Stephanie Roberts, our marketing manager at TSC. And as we go through today, if you guys have ideas or things that you'd like us to present, please share those with Stephanie, and we'd like to get those on the calendar for upcoming monthly events that we do. We're always looking for suggestions and new ideas, so please feel free to share those as well. But with that, I'm gonna introduce Tess and hand this over to you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you, Tom. We'll go ahead and jump right in. Yeah, thanks to Tom and Stephanie and the gang over at TSC for airtime, and thank you all for joining today to learn a little bit more about our OnBase integrations with Workday. I love to speak on that topic, and just to set your expectations, we've got about 30 minutes of content for you today, give or take. And as Tom said, time permitting, we'd love to answer some questions as well. So we're going to try to sprinkle in some Q&A portions throughout, and if you've got those questions, feel free to submit those via the chat feature in the GoToMeeting here. As far as an agenda standpoint, here's what we're looking at. We're going to start with just a little bit of background of our integrations and the benefits, and talk a little bit about our partnership with Workday. Then we'll highlight some of our existing Workday integrations, mainly our AP automation solution, and then I'm happy to be here to formally introduce Highland for Workday Extend, our latest collaboration with Workday. So let's dive right in. I understand, of course, we've got some OnBase enthusiasts on the phone. I know I'm talking to an audience that's likely very familiar already with the power of OnBase, but just in case, especially when we think about the topic of integrations, I like to level the playing field a little bit and think about where our strengths really lie with OnBase, because when we think about pairing two systems together, right, we're all bringing something to the table here. So from an OnBase standpoint, we know this is an enterprise information platform for managing content, processes, and cases via a variety of content services capabilities. OnBase has, doing just that, transformed thousands of organizations worldwide by empowering them to become more agile, efficient, and effective. And it does this by centralizing your important business content in one secure location, and then delivering relevant information to you when and where you need it. And that's a really key part of that sentence, right? Particularly when we're talking about integrations, it's the when and where you need it piece. You know, a big part of our integration story with OnBase is that you can access OnBase content from the systems you work in every day, like Workday. But really, it goes beyond that. When we talk about centralizing your content in OnBase, we're creating a content hub, meaning that content can be surfaced up in multiple systems. So rather than having multiple versions of something or using some workaround to get access to the content that you need, it's in one secure spot and available, again, when and where you need it. And these are concepts I want you to keep front of mind as we discuss the pairing of OnBase and Workday. You know, we all know that Workday is an industry-leading ERP and HCM. It's designed to capture and maintain that structured data related to records and their associated processes. And then on the other side of that, OnBase can capture, manage, and retain the unstructured content associated with the data and those objects stored in Workday. And again, by pairing these two systems, we are providing content in context, really with these high-level benefits in mind. A consistent user experience, which is so important. You know, ERP and HCM users, they want all the functionality that they need to process information to exist really within a familiar or native system. They don't want to have to leave one system to go find information in another application or unfamiliar content repository that they rarely need to access, right? So with our integrations, users can remain in Workday with access to the OnBase content that they need. and they can be sure that what they're accessing is accurate and secure. So, of course, OnBase, being that central repository, protects the security and privacy of your unstructured content, meanwhile automatically relating it to the Workday processes and objects that it pertains to, which of course means faster work, faster decision making, which can lead to hopefully reduction in costs. You know, from an AP standpoint, we know that paying invoices late can result in vendor fees, or paying invoices incorrectly, which happens due to human or system errors, can result in lost revenue. And then, of course, on the HR side, the time it takes to recruit, onboard, and train employees can lead to high costs for organizations. So once again, by enabling work to happen when and where it needs to, without application switching, without having to question, is this accurate? Is this the content that I need? We're going to speed up and streamline those processes, resulting in lower costs. Now, one of the reasons that we're able to deliver on these benefits between Hyland and Workday is because of the strong partnership that we have. I always like to take the opportunity to talk about this because Hyland and Workday have been partnering since 2016. And what that means is that, you know, there's a high level of alignment between our two teams. The product teams at both organizations meet regularly to ensure that continued alignment and ensure that joint customer success. We have key team members within our R&D department that are trained and certified on Workday solutions, right? So we're staying current on those latest technologies, and thanks to that, able to deliver those consistent solutions and that effortless upgrade path. So that's all thanks again to our very strategic select partnership with Workday. And speaking of those consistent solutions, I mentioned that we would do at least an overview of our existing integrations with Workday. So that's where we will go next. So the first one that I want to talk about, and we're going to cover this one in a little bit more detail, that's our Hyland AP for Workday solution. So this is a Workday certified AP invoice processing solution. It works with Workday Financial Management, really to speed up the process of capturing, processing, and approving invoices. So as I said, we'll take a little bit of a closer look at that one. The next one I'll mention, I know it's not likely relevant to folks on the phone here today, but we do have an integration with their Workday student platform, which is for transcript processing. Not quite Workday certified, but in the process of doing that. Just wanted to mention it because as you look, potentially do some research of your own into our integrations, that's one that you'll see as well. And then finally, we have our brand new solution, Hyland for Workday Extend. And, you know, when I think about the partnership that I described even on the previous slide, this is one of those success stories. I mean, all of these integrations that you're seeing here are the fruits of a very meaningful and collaborative relationship. But I think Hyland for Workday Extend really brings that type of success story to the forefront. You know, because of our partnership, we were able to do active research on their new platform, Workday Extend, which has really opened up possibilities for us. So you can see, you know, now we're extending, excuse the reuse of the term there, but our capabilities from Workday Financial Management to also include their HCM product. And that's the example that we're going to see here today. But before we get to Hyland for Workday Extend, I want to provide some background and a little bit potentially of a refresher on our AP automation solution. So that's where we'll go next. So for this and for Hyland for Workday Extend, I'll start by highlighting some of the key features, briefly touching on some technical notes as well, and then we'll take a closer look. So from a feature standpoint for our AP automation solution, first and foremost, you know, this integration allows you to capture invoice data with integrated validation against Workday records. So again, when we think about the validity of the data itself and the information that's being captured, we have bidirectional validation happening here. So we're able to ensure that the data and the information that we're looking at is correct as we automate the capture of that invoice data. There's also work tag entry and PO line pairing happening as that data is captured and validated. And as it's going through that process, if it's a match, right? If we're matching up an invoice to the PO that already exists within Workday, that can be pushed out for automatic approval and processing. If there are exceptions, you have the ability to manage those exceptions and then push those completed invoices back to the Workday business process. And there's different ways that you can manage those exceptions, whether it's in OnBase or in Workday itself. We also provide for that easy retrieval a link to the invoice directly from the Workday invoice screens. And then, as I mentioned, this sync happens bidirectionally. So we're making sure that the data and everything is updated in both locations at all times. So you can sync and cancel those invoices bidirectionally. From a technical standpoint, this integrates directly via Workday Web Services, which is Workday's API suite for financials. And as you may have heard me mention, we're very proud of this. This is a Workday certified integration. So we are going to take a look at just a few screenshots of this. I didn't want to spend too terribly much time on this because we wanted to take a closer look at Highland for Workday Extend. But before we get to the screenshots, since those sometimes don't tell the full picture, I thought it would be nice to take a look at this more from a graphical standpoint. So I'm going to step through this and try to underscore what's happening throughout the process between the two systems. So on the top half of the screen, I know the colors are a little bit light, but it's sort of an off-white background. That's what's happening on the OnBase side of things. And then down at the bottom where we have the blue, we've got things that are happening on the Workday side of things. But in any case, the first step in the process is to capture your content. And that can happen in a multitude of ways. These could be, scanned paper documents, electronic documents. I think, commonly with Workday users, this is coming in via email, and so it's being imported right from their inbox. But we start by bringing in your invoices and other supporting content into that one single repository, which is OnBase, and that's what's happening in that first scan and import step. And of course, as we're importing them, you heard me mention, there's automatic validation happening. So we're automating the process of lifting information from those documents to use for indexing. And the data that's lifted from the invoice image is automatically validated against vendor and PO data from Workday. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that step in actually the next step. But within index and classify here, we're assigning your keyword values to the documents and classifying them really so that we know what we're looking at and how to manage it, right? Because we're going to handle an invoice a little bit differently than a packing slip, a change order, etc. So it's really in that step that we're automating the process of indexing and validating that data. Now, as you heard me say, from a validation standpoint, this is bidirectional. So we're going to pull in the exchange data piece down here in Workday. But this is really just to indicate that OnBase and Workday are always talking back and forth to validate that the information is correct. And then that information is input into a WorkView application that was built for this solution. So that's within OnBase, and we're going to see some examples of those WorkView screens here in just a second. But not only is this going to be validating the indexing values, but it's also going to allow us to leverage existing Workday data to index and classify the imported document. So as you can imagine, this expedites the document process. It also ensures that the data is complete, even when, if there's an instance where the desired values aren't necessarily readable or even present, if we can still match that up to, hey, this PO exists in Workday, we'll pull in as much of that information as we can and keep that step as automated as possible. So again, throughout the process, the information is being validated against Workday records and expanded from what's within Workday. And this can also help expedite the capture process, because when values line up in what's within Workday, within those Workday objects, then the invoice can be sent directly for payment, right? If we don't have any exceptions to manage here, that can go right through and that payment's happening very quickly. Now, if there is an exception, the person who's handling that exception can use live lookups in Workday to make sure that the data is clean and correct and verify things that way as well. And then from there, it's really up to you to decide, where are we going to handle these exceptions? So within that process and manage step, I have it up in OnBase because we do have workflows built out to actually manage the process of those exceptions, but we also understand the robust processing capabilities of Workday as well. So if you'd prefer to manage those exceptions within Workday, that can happen as well. And then finally, the last piece of the puzzle here is to retrieve. So once everything's approved, it's been pushed back to Workday, or maybe prior to approval, it's being pushed back to Workday to be managed within that process. In any case, that invoice record is created in Workday, and there will be a link within that Workday object to actually access that invoice document that's being stored within OnBase. So you've got direct access to the content itself. So let's take a look at some screenshots that will hopefully make more sense now that we've walked through this process from a graphical standpoint. So I mentioned a WorkView app. This is the first screen that we're looking at here. This is an example of a PO invoice that we've created within WorkView. So the invoice came in, we captured it, and here's the data that we pulled from that. And this is what will ultimately then push over to Workday to create that invoice record. So this is the step where we're going to go through and validate the information. And you can see a lot of it from supplier details, and the invoice header is pulled out automatically there. And then a little bit further down the screen, you can see the PO line pairing that's happening as well. So it's validating that against the PO that it found within Workday. And we can actually drill into those individual PO lines a little bit closer and take a look. You see if you're a Workday user and familiar with this terminology, the work tag options there on this screen as well, so that you can code those PO lines appropriately. And then if we go back to just, again, an example of that PO invoice that was created within WorkView, once it's been approved, and again, this could be managed if there are exceptions within OnBase, or maybe it gets pushed over for those exceptions to be managed within Workday. But effectively, once you're ready to push it to Workday, it does create that Workday invoice object. You've just got the supplier invoice here, and then I'm circling there on the screen the document link. So that's going to pop open then the invoice as it exists within OnBase. And you can take a look at what we actually started with that created all of these records. So like I said, this is an integration that we've offered for years, and because of that, we can share some of the realized benefits, right, that our customers are seeing as a result of this integration. First and foremost, they're speeding up their procure to pay cycles by having that automatic validation of AP documents with the data that's in Workday and quickly posting those invoices for payment. Reducing the manual indexing is helping ensure better accuracy. We're also improving process controls and tracking with exception handling, notifications, and analytics. And then of course, you've got the increased visibility to the relevant information thanks to the links that are provided on the Workday records to the documents that are stored within OnBase. So I know that for as complex and powerful as the solution is, that was a very, very quick overview of it. So I want to pause here before we dive into our new integration and just see if we have any questions.
So Tess, it does look like we did have a few questions come through.
Great.
First, does the Highland AP for Workday, is it meant to replace or just extend the existing AP solution?
So I'm wondering if the meaning there is with the new solution, Highland for Workday Extend, if that replaces the AP solution. And the simple answer to that is no. So the solution that I've just described can certainly be enhanced by the Highland for Workday Extend solution that we're about to see, but it's not a replacement.
Gotcha. In a previous screen, you showed us how we can embed a document link in the supplier invoice screen. Are we able to embed more than one link?
That's a great question. So with the existing solution, it's one link, and that's just a limitation of the screen itself. But as you'll see here, as we start to dig in, this is a nice segue actually, as we start to dig into Highland for Workday Extend. If you pair that with this AP automation solution, you'll have the ability to view as many documents as are related to that record. So that'll be a nice enhancement. So
Perfect.
Question. Yeah.
And then finally, Tess, is OnBase the only Highland product that is certified with Workday, or are there others such as Nexio?
You know, that is a good question. I believe it's just OnBase at this point, and we will look to kind of expand those offerings in the future. But currently just OnBase, I believe.
Perfect. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you. All right. So let's take a look at our new solution here, Highland for Workday Extend. And I love this one because I think, as again, we're highlighting the partnership between Highland and Workday, this is such a success story coming out of that. And so much of our early success with this, I think, is owed in part to the fact that we do have a very strategic and collaborative relationship with them. So much so that even prior to releasing the product, it's already an award winner. We were named a 2022 Workday Partner Innovation Award winner in the Office of Human Resources category 4, Highland for Workday Extend, that we're about to see. This is a pretty prestigious award handed out to Workday partners for their expertise and commitment to accelerating innovation to customers while still extending those key Workday solutions. And like I said, this represents a more recent success, and again, what has been a pretty long and fruitful partnership between our two companies. So we're excited to be bringing this to market. From a key features standpoint, and we're going to see an example of this. I've got a nice demo to share. One of the key features here is that you can capture new documents that will be housed within OnBase seamlessly from the familiar screens of Workday. And not only that, you'll be able to review existing documents in an exhaustive list. So, whereas going back to the question that we had with the existing solution, we could just embed one document pop link within that record. Now we'll be able to view any number of related documents to an object within Workday. And it's really easy to access and view the documents in OnBase in just one click. It's also mobile friendly, so if you're accessing Workday on your mobile device, you'll have the ability to view documents that way as well. From a technical standpoint, this interacts with Workday's new REST API, and it is built on the Workday Extend platform, which of course is where we get our name, Highland for Workday Extend. And this can oftentimes lead to the question, well, what is Workday Extend? Which is a really fair question. It's a technology platform, you can read along with me on the screen here, for customers and partners to build applications and extensions on top of the delivered capabilities in Workday to meet their unique business needs. And what's wonderful about this is it's across all areas of Workday, so HCM, financial management, and student. And what I'll share here is the examples that I'm going to share are going to be focused on an HCM example, but know that this same functionality can exist within financial management. And those are the two that we're leading off with. And then at some point, we'll tackle student as well. But to give you a little preview of what this interface looks like and highlight some of those key features again, this is Logan McNeil's record within Workday, her employee record. And you can see right alongside her personal information, we have embedded a tab here for view employee documents that lists all documents related to Logan McNeil. So it's really easy to view the related content. You can open the documents from here if you need a closer look. And that's within the document viewer within OnBase. And then there's also that conspicuous orange button there to capture new documents really easily, and it'll inherit information from Logan's record here at Workday and relate those automatically to her record. So let me set the scene here as we head into our demo video. We're going to again begin on Logan McNeil's record in Workday. And for you, it may appear as though we're just in Workday the entire time, which is really kind of the point here. We want this to be as seamless as possible for employees, especially those who maybe are more casual users, right? If you are an HR professional or you're a manager, you may be accessing this more frequently, but this is functionality that could be extended to all employees within your organization. And in that way, it's very easy for them and intuitive for them to do, even when they're not doing it regularly. So let's take a look at our demo here. Like I said, we start on Logan's record, and I'm just going to click on the actions menu there in Workday. And then I've got an option for view employee documents. So I'm going to click on that. And here is our documents list. So you can see we've got quite a few items listed here. These columns are configurable based on what would be relevant for your organization to see, but I can open up a thumbnail preview, or I can click that show document link, and that's going to pull up that document viewer, the OnBase quick access viewer here. So I can, got some features there like zoom in, zoom out. I could rotate the document. I can review the keywords. And then back on the documents list is that orange capture document buttons. So if she wants to upload a new document, I click on that. I select from my organization's list of document types, right? So that would be configured there, but then it just allows the system to know what keywords we should be pulling in. I can update those. And then I can drag and drop or browse for the file that I need, enter in some relevant information here, and then I'm going to click OK. And you can see it's instantly captured. So by clicking View Employee Documents, I can go right back to that document list, and you can see it there at the top, and I can take a look at it. Again, clicking on the thumbnail preview, I can open up the Quick Access Viewer and see what that looks like as well. And then there's also this very handy search and filter bar, because as you can imagine, as this list of documents grows and you want to be able to find something really quickly, you can search by file name or some other keyword, and you'd be able to pull that up instantly as well, which makes it very easy to navigate. And then I'll show just once again back on Logan's record, if I just go to her personal information, I have a tab there for View Employee Documents that's going to give me that same view. So I don't even have to go through the menus that I did prior. I can access the full list of documents right from there. So I wanted to cover, since this is new, some just high-level technical requirements. This is compatible with OnBase EP5 or later. Requires that core OnBase platform, HR and financials backend services, and then the OnBase API server. What's really key to note here from a Workday requirements standpoint is that this requires Workday Extend, and this is an add-on module in addition to the core Workday offering. So even if you own Workday now, it may be that you still would have to purchase Workday Extend, which you would purchase through Workday to have this integration. So just an important thing to note there. If you've already got Workday Extend, then that's great, and this would be a wonderful solution for you. The other thing that I want to point out before we pause once again and check for some questions as we near our half-hour mark here are just some additional resources. So if you head out to Highland Community, there are groups for both integrations for Workday, which really focuses on that AP solution that we started with. And then we have Highland for Workday Extend, which is a new group that was created, and you can find the product overview out there. There's an overview presentation, a video similar to what I shared with the voiceover, a forum for asking questions, and much more that you've probably come to know and expect from Highland Community. So at this point, before I hand it back to Tom to wrap up, do we have any questions?
Tess, it does look like we had an additional question come through. When viewing a document in Workday, are the OnBase permissions still valid? For example, can you right-click and send to on a document?
Yep, if you open up the document from Workday and it opens in OnBase, you still have all that right-click menu functionality. So you can do cross-references and all of the other things, and it would inherit the same permissions that are set with the database. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Tess.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, wonderful. Well, I know Tom said that this would be recorded, so if there's anyone else who you know that wasn't able to attend, you'll be able to look for that recording. But at this point, I'm going to toss it back over to Tom, and I think we've got just a couple of slides to wrap up here.
Thank you, Tess. That was wonderful, and we really appreciate the presentation and understanding how all this works together as we continue to help folks maximize their investment in OnBase as well as their investment in Workday. And also all the folks who attended and asked questions, we appreciate you doing that to further advance the conversation. One quick thing, TSC is, as a Highland partner, we also offer managed services, so we just want you to be aware of that. And these can cover a variety of things, from a health check in your system to helping with an ECM roadmap. If you're currently working with another Highland partner, then you can engage with us and them together so we can put together a program for you. But we do a lot of variety of services under our managed service banner. And so if you're interested in that, we'd be happy to send you our managed service brochure. But yes, everybody will receive a copy of the recording, and we will send that out via email. And again, if you have suggestions for topics that would like us to feature in upcoming webinars, please email them to info@tsc-ecm.com, and we certainly will want to get those in the queue. Our next two webinars, as you see there on the screen, OnBase and SAP integration, and OnBase and case management. And those are going to be two really compelling presentations. And if you haven't looked at case management, it would be really good for you to kind of look at what that all involves. And I believe that you would recognize some areas in your organization where case management would be a tremendous help in terms of visibility, in terms of risk management, in terms of servicing your customers better, a whole host of benefits that come from case management. So with that, I think we'll wrap up. Thank you, Jack and Stephanie, and of course Tess. We appreciate you, and we look forward to engaging with everyone further. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.